We're an ambulance, right? So do ambulances pay tolls? Not when you show the toll lady your badge in a Japanese minivan, you don't.
In 2021, John Picard created the amazing event that is the musket ball. My original plan was to run a cheater car, which was my 1984 Mercedes 300 CD turbo diesel coupe that had been built for 19, but had died from a transmission issue. And that was my idea up until about 30 days before the event. I'm sitting in traffic. I get a call from Tim. He wanted to build a Transcom medic van. We all know about the curse. He wanted to pick something silly, and I think he started with a Mitsubishi Delica, another JDM vehicle. And I said, that's not really, I like where you're at. It's not really bad enough for us. You really gotta take it as far as you can go with this game of escalation of self-torture. The place we ended up with was a key van. The 100 horsepower was way too much for us. We decided that 65 was probably where we needed to be. So key van has a 3-cylinder turbo in the floor and basically about the size of a golf cart. My understanding is they're not highway legal in most states that we were traveling through. But anyways, we got 30 days to figure this out roughly. So we found a dealer in New Jersey that had a bunch of these things. We were kind of worried that these things were going to be crazy slow. And then we took a test drive around the parking lot, and these things kind of rip. One I actually ended up buying has a blow-off valve on it. You know, and it's manual shift, and you're on the wrong side, and it's a fun little vehicle. But they're on like wheelbarrow wheels, and they're not really ready for what we're gonna do with it. So I bought a turbo van, and I bought a little pickup truck, thinking that they're both Suzukis. We blow up a motor, we'll just take a motor out of the pickup truck and we'll put it in there. So fallback plan. So we get these things back to Georgia. We're trying to figure out how to speed them up because they're supposed to be like 55 miles an hour. And the van is all-wheel drive. So I went around the junkyard, found spare wheels. They got stacks of spare wheels. I found the right bolt pattern. Steelies like what the medic van had, but we couldn't fit in the front. We couldn't fit the 15s that we could fit on the rear. So trying to get the tallest gear ratio we could out of bigger wheels and tires. Put the 15s in the back, stripped the all-wheel drive system out of the front, put 14s on the front. Basically replaced everything in the suspension with new. Then we set off to wrapping this thing. And it is not the good wrap job, but it serves a purpose. We put in a siren because we thought that would be helpful. Turned out it was really great for people edging into your lane. Between that and being orange, we added some lights to it just for safety.
We remade all the badging that was original to the vehicle so that we could put it over top of everything. Made badges that were Tokyo hospital badges, that we were students. 2 badges because we wanted to be legit. Like I wanted the most authenticity as I could get. So we had a badge with our photo as one, facing straight up and down on a lanyard. And then we had a badge turned sideways with just a QR code on it of, I don't remember, but just to make it look real. Aaron's driving, so I'm on the driver's side. When you get into a toll booth, I'm the driver to that lady. We're an ambulance, right? So do ambulances pay tolls? Not when you show the toll lady your badge in a Japanese minivan, you don't. She just waves you on through, and she said, you guys, go on. And don't pay any tolls when you have a Japanese minivan.
So we had this thing pretty much ready to go. 3 days before we were leaving for Connecticut, I was on a test drive and it overheated. We hauled it back, and then I was trying to I changed fuel filter or something, and we blew O-rings out of the fuel rail. Then we had issues with coolant, and we couldn't get it running, couldn't find parts. We're just like, okay, well, we've committed to this thing, we've built it. We put a bunch of time into making what is essentially now just an art piece. But we're like, whatever, we've already got hotels booked. We'll throw it. I've got a flatbed dually truck. We loaded it on a gooseneck trailer, drove it onto the back of the truck, built a little rack for it so we could haul it on the back of my truck so we didn't take a trailer into Manhattan or into Connecticut. Haul this thing up to Connecticut. Nobody knows about it. We've kept the secret. Nobody knows that we're building this thing. Everybody thinks we're throwing up in my 300 CD. So we pull up, everybody's like floored by this thing because it's a replica of the Transcom Medic van, only it's the size of a golf cart. But it doesn't run. Because of the dyno portion of the musket ball where everybody was checked, to make sure they were under the horsepower limit or assessed fines if they were above that. Well, the entire dyno day we spent wrenching on this thing while it's still in the back of the truck. This is the day before we're supposed to leave. So we got all that sorted out, but we still had cooling system issues. We had ignition issues. We spent the day wrenching on that with Jared from Questionable Garage. He was amazing. Clutch came in, really put in the time on helping us get that thing straight because I had really just kind of given up because I'd been fighting this thing for days. Everybody was so happy about this thing being there and thought it was so amazing that it's just like we kept pushing on and kept pushing on. So we got it running, and we figured out all the problems. Because the engine is in the back and the radiator's in the front, it has 2 radiator caps. And we figured out that when it had overheated, it blew a bunch of rust out of the cap in the back, and it was basically Swiss cheese. We called around trying to find this piece. It's like a very custom multi little metal tube thing that there's no way. I mean, even in my shop, I couldn't make this thing in a day. So we're like, okay, well, we went and bought a bunch of JB Weld, and we put JB Weld steel stick all around this thing, and it sat in front of the hotel. It was cold too, and we were worried about it curing, so we went and bought space heaters, and we covered it up with blankets, and it sat in front of the hotel with an extension cord running out to it on the back of the truck. I'm hoping for this JB Weld to cure as well as it could. We went ahead and booked a rollback to take it off of the back of the truck and just set it so we'd have it there. We figured, okay, well, we can drive around the parking lot, whatever. So we got it off. We got there at maybe 6 o'clock in the morning before everybody got there to take off. And we went and drove it, got it on the highway, drove it, and it kept going. And we're like, okay, this thing seems to be going. So we're like, okay, well, we'll line up. We'll get this thing started. We've always got the fallback. So we had 2 fallbacks. I never believed that this thing was going to make it. So we had ramps in the back with the idea that we're just going to rent a U-Haul truck and we'll throw this thing in the back of a U-Haul truck and we'll drive back to Georgia. We'll make it as far as we can. My truck actually followed us all the way from the start through Pennsylvania before it turned south, thinking that at any minute this thing could go south. But anyway, so we got to the start, and it was the most amazing start because everybody took off at exactly the same time, which hasn't been done in modern history. This glorious little van was fighting it out. And really, this school bus was about the only vehicle that we could keep up with a little bit until we got out of traffic. And we just keep plugging away, and luckily it was cold. There were snow flurries coming across Pennsylvania. I mean, this thing does like to overheat, and obviously you're pushing a vehicle pretty hard. And with the bigger wheels and tires, the bumps and the horrible roads and, in New York and New Jersey and all that had just blown the suspension out of this thing before we even got to Pennsylvania.
The overheating situation got a little out of hand at times. I don't think we ever really learned how to properly bleed the system in the van. Every time it would overheat, we would have to wait for it to cool down. We learned how to use Google Translate a lot to look through the manuals that were in the glove box. And at one point, I was just like going around the van, just scanning stickers. When you bleed the radiator system, you're supposed to disconnect this clamp and pull this hose loose. And that's now your breather, so that you're supposed to wait till water comes out of that. These are things we learned as we're coming across the country.
Everything we hit bottomed out, and the seat is basically bolted to the top of the strut tower. If we hit a pencil in the road at 70 miles an hour, the thing would bottom out. So we just got beat to death by this thing. But we're not really speeding because we can't. I mean, we can barely go the speed limit in most places. We got brave on some hills, and we had it above 85 a couple times, allegedly. We were basically just plugging along, but because we weren't speeding, we didn't really have to spot or worry about police or anything. So we got a lot of sleep. We'd do 2.5 hours on, 2.5 hours off, and we just plugged away at this thing. And we kept going across the country. We're like, it's making it, it's doing it. The weather stayed cool. We got to Oklahoma, and again, this thing is about as wide as a golf cart, but it's as tall as a normal car. So you get to the crosswinds of Oklahoma, and it's interesting that like a semi would go by in the opposing lane 100 feet away from you, and you would feel it in the vehicle. So that was a little unnerving. And then it started to get warmer. You know, we're starting to really have to watch the temp gauge, but it's just got a generic little hot cold, and the arrow just kind of wanders around. Our problem is that with the motor in the back and the radiator in the front, you've got so much time between, if you get on the throttle a little bit too much, you don't know that you've overcooked it until it's too late. And so we really got to just maintain temperature on this thing, and we're just driving it completely by the temp gauge. Ben, Charlie's Ferrari Wilson, wasn't able to make it to this event.
Ben did not know what we were doing. I just told Ben he needed to dress like a doctor, and it would be best if he had a syringe. So he went on Amazon and he bought a doctor's coat, and I don't know if he had a turkey baster, but he sent me these photos, and I go, this is awesome. Now we have our doctor to go in our van.
I was sleeping and Tim was driving, and he woke me up and he's like, I had the best idea. So he had taken the foot off of the little sticker, and he's wearing socks in the picture, which is weird, and that was all in the whole thing. So there's a socked foot stuck to the temp gauge exactly where it needs to be. And you're so locked into this vehicle that you can't move your head around. You're in one position. You can't move your legs. You can't do anything. So you're always in line of sight to that needle right in the perfect spot. And then we just drove it to that foot. We did have some trouble in Phoenix. We stopped at a Harbor Freight and bought a dual thermocouple setup so we could try to calculate the delta across the radiator to see if we were actually cooling anything as it started to get hotter. But yeah, we just nursed this thing. We get to California, and Tim's like, we got to make a detour. I was like, okay, where are we going? He goes, you know where we're going. So the original van that Brock Yates ran, it broke down at this dinosaur statue, and they loaded it on a semi at that point. So we're like, okay, well, we're breaking the curse. We're going to go there. And it was like a 2-hour detour out of our way. But we're like, whatever. We're so far. We're a day behind everybody at this point anyway. So we're just out there for having fun. We go to the dinosaur, take our pictures. Everybody thinks we're crazy. We get back on the road, and it's got to be 80, 90 degrees outside, and we're just fighting this thing. We're going up and down hills, and you know, we're just having to go 55 miles an hour in the highway when everybody else is going 75, 80. As we get into LA, we're just like amazed that this thing has happened. And everybody's going crazy because obviously we have ways to track where everybody is. So everybody knows that we're coming in. We get on the highway and somebody gets a little siren happy while I'm driving. We didn't really realize what was happening, but if you go back and watch the video where we arrive at the Portofino triumphantly, there's a helicopter following us that we're assuming was the police. So that was kind of interesting. They just broke off and nothing ever happened with it. But yeah, it was an amazing vehicle. And we finished, and I mean, we're not the first Transcon vehicle. We're the first orange one. John Ficarra himself ran a badged van as a Transcon. I believe we are definitely the smallest displacement car to ever complete a cannonball at 660 cc's. Still have that van. I sort of murdered the motor at another Ed Bowling event, but that'll be a story for another day.
If you're ready for your next adventure, you're gonna need the right car, and the best way to buy your next car is with the help of Premier Financial Services. The Simple Lease from Premier Financial is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a traditional loan, like the ability to accumulate equity, pay it off at any time, and they give you a perfectly easy to understand amortization table, but you also get the benefits of a lease, the low payment, the flexible terms, the low down payments, but also you get to use some certain tax benefits that leases entitle you to. They've taken great care of me, and I know they'll take great care of you, so check them out now at the link in the description below.